In this video, we will be showing you how to replace a rotor bearing on a 300 or 500 series mulcher. If you are replacing the shaft on the belt chamber side, you will need to remove most of the belt assembly. You can get an idea of how to remove the belt assembly by watching the belt assembly installation video. However, you will have direct access to the other bearing on the opposite side of the rotor. First, make sure to put support under the rotor so the frame is hung up a bit. Then remove these 4 bolts. With the pry bar, pry the rotor away from the bearing, then pry towards the bearing. This will give you space behind the bearing to pry it off the shaft. This won't work for the bearing on this side though, because the rotor would still be fixed to the belt assembly. If it's really stuck, check where the weight of the mulcher is sitting on. If the skis are slightly lifted off the ground, put a pry bar under the skis and wiggle it while another person pries the bearing off. But if the skis are on the ground, then you will want to pry and wiggle under the rotor while another person pries the bearing off. Remove the grease fitting from the old bearing and install it on the new one. Then install the new bearing. And if you're installing it on the belt chamber side, first pry the rotor back away from the bearing in order for the bearing to not bottom out on the shaft while tightening the bolts. Make sure you install the bearing with the grease fitting facing down. Clean the bolts and put a drop of oil on them before installing them. Before reinstalling the belt assembly, make sure to pry the rotor towards the belt chamber. Watch our belt assembly video for further instructions. And make sure to put in the same amount of spacers as you took off. Also, before starting the taper hub bolt, make sure to sand the ends of the bolts down a bit to prevent stripping threads.